This is Chapter 9, Lesson 4 on Descriptive Statistics, and this is going to be Part 2. In this part, we'll learn about what is called the 5-number summary and how to make a box and whisker plot. This is how you find the 5-number summary, or the 5-number summary is what you're going to use in order to create your box and whisker plot, which is going to be shown later in the video. The 5-number summary obviously has 5 values, and they consist of the minimum value, which is the smallest value of the data set, the lower quartile, which is the median of the lower half of the data, the median, which we kind of learned in the last video, which is the middle value, the upper quartile, which is the median of the upper half of the data, and then the maximum, which is the highest value. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how I found this, or how the book finds this. For the example to the right, it says the daily average temperatures for 15 days in May are shown in the table. Find the 5-number summary for the data. It says write the data from least to greatest. This is a must. You must start by writing the data from least to greatest. Okay. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find your minimum and maximum. Obviously, the farthest left value is your minimum. The farthest right value would be your maximum. The next thing that you want to do is you want to find the median. Okay, and I showed you a way of doing that in the last video, but if you didn't catch it, here's what I did. I started crossing off numbers on the left and the right, and I'm working my way towards the middle of the data so I can find the median. Okay. So 74 happens to be the median of this data set. Okay. Now what's new to you is probably how to find what is called the lower quartile or the upper quartile. In this example, they refer to them as the first quartile and the third quartile. There's different ways of referring to them. So I'm going to find the first quartile, and then we'll find the third. You're going to find the first quartile by starting to cross out numbers to just find the median of just these values to the left. It's the lower part of the data. So I'm going to start by crossing them off, one on the left, one on the right. And I'm going to continue to go through that until I find that median. Okay. And sometimes, like in the last video, you saw that sometimes there's two numbers that you need to add together and then divide by 2 in order to find some of these medians. Okay, so just keep that in mind as you go. I'm going to do the same thing to find the third quartile. I'm going to cross one off on the left, cross one off on the right. I'm going to continue to go through until I find that third quartile. Okay, so I got my minimum, they're labeled in the blue. I got my minimum, my first quartile or my lower quartile, my median, my third quartile or my upper quartile, my maximum. We're going to use this same example in order to try to create a box and whisker plot. And the book does a great job of stepping you through this step by step. And I'm going to use the same steps as they use as I go through another example with you. So we have the same numbers at the very top labeled in blue: minimum, first quartile, median, third quartile, and maximum. The first thing you're going to want to do, or step 1 when creating a box and whisker plot, is you're going to want to draw a number line that contains at least the lowest value and the highest value. For this one, our minimum is 68. So you could have started at 68 and you could have went to a maximum, which is 76. The book included just a few more numbers just to make it kind of look even. Step 2 is you're going to mark the minimum and the maximum values. Then you're going to mark the median, first quartile, and third quartiles above the line. And if you notice, they put those blue dots above. That's all it has to be. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. And you want to make sure that these dots are above the number line and not on them, because if you notice in step 3, that's where you're going to start to draw your box and your whiskers. Okay. So the boxes actually go around the three middle values, which would be the first quartile, the median, and the third quartile. And then you can see how they just drew the whiskers or the lines connecting the other two values for that. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through one here on the next slide. Here's another example. Okay, so I have my vocabulary terms on the top just in case you forget as we start to go through some of these. And this does take a little bit of time, but the more you do, the faster you become at these. So it says the weekly amounts in dollars in a bank account are 169, 163, 153, 166, 149, 148, 146, 145, 152, 153, and I'm sorry, 163 and 152. So first things first, I need to find all of my data points in order to go through and to create my box and whisker. So I've already put them in order from least to greatest. That's these values right underneath here. And I'm going to start by just simply writing my minimum value. And I'm going to write it down here so I can create my box and whisker here in just a little bit. So my minimum value is 145. My lower quartile, I'll find in a little bit. I need to find my median. Oops. I need to find my upper quartile, and I need to find my maximum. Okay. My maximum I can point out right away is 169. That's the highest value of the data set. I'm going to find the median now, and I'm going to start by crossing a few numbers off on the left, cross a few numbers off on the right, and I'm going to continue to go through here, and it looks like I find 152 is going to be my median. Okay. Now I'm going to erase these, and I'm going to find my lower quartile, or the median of the lower numbers. Okay, so I'm excluding my median when I do this. I'm going to start by crossing out 145, 152. Looks like I get 148, and that's going to be my lower quartile. And the last one I need to find is just my upper quartile. Notice how I haven't erased the median value, which is that second 152. We're not including that when we find the upper quartile or the lower quartile. So I'm going to start by crossing off. Looks like I get 163 as my upper quartile. Okay, so I have all my data points. Now all I need to do is create my box and whisker plot, which is going to be towards the bottom here. Okay, so I'm going to use a scale. I need to start with at least the lowest value, which is 145. So I'm going to start there at 145. And I need to get all the way up to my highest value of my maximum, which is 169. So since that's a pretty wide gap, I'm going to count by twos. So this is going to be 147. And we want to try to make sure that the gaps are the same for each, because it makes our data look equal. Okay. So I got that. Now is where I need to put all my dots for my 5-number summary. And remember, we're putting those above the number line, not on the number line. So I need a dot at 145. Need a dot at 148, which is about there. Need a dot at 152. Need a dot at 163. and I need a dot at 169. Okay. Now I need to draw my box and whisker plot. So the way I like to do it is I like to draw my boxes first. And I know that there's going to be the sides or the ends of my boxes are going to end there. And I'm going to have another box within here. So it's going to look something like that. That's my first box. This is my second box. And then I just draw my whiskers on there. Okay. What's really neat about a box and whisker plot is what you've just done is you've separated your data into 4 equal parts. So this part represents 25% of your data. This box, the first box, represents another 25% of the data. Even though the next box is a lot larger than the first box, it still only represents 25% of your data. And then obviously your last whisker right here represents 25% of your data. Okay, so it's kind of nice to be able to see that you're separating it into 4 different parts. We are going to attach a skills sheet along with an answer sheet. Feel free to work on those, and if you have to refer back to the videos, you can do so.